All right, hello for the last time, colleagues. We're saving the best for last here. The United States Constitution. I chose the Second Amendment. It's probably pretty obvious, maybe. Um, Here we have a controversy that's been brewing for the past 60 plus years. It's a debate that I believe in academia, media, politicians, the courts, not a whole lot of consensus. But when you look at history, we look back at our founding fathers, we look back before our founding fathers at our state constitutions, we look at our colonial charters, we look at the Bible. Um, there's so many examples of the natural right to self-defense. So let's break down the Second Amendment here. It has four parts. I call it the four comma debate of the Second Amendment. One, we have a well-regulated militia. I think this is probably the most heavily debated part of the Second Amendment today, as the Founding Fathers and the state constitutions had written in the meaning of a well-regulated militia. It was purposefully put into the Constitution as a threat to the federal government to prevent tyranny by the federal government, that within the states there is an armed militia of the people. Number two, the second part of the Second Amendment reads, being necessary to the security of a free state. You can say this is establishing state sovereignty and independence, and the people are in control of the state. The state can ensure that the tyranny of the federal government is put into check through the usage of arms. This represents about 150 years of colonial history and independence prior to the ratification of the Second Amendment. Third comma, we have the right of the people to keep and bear arms. This clearly defines the right of the people to keep and bear arms, but not the states. There's still a controversy today. We have, like I said, lower courts and some circuit courts. They want to put forth the opinions that it is the right of the National Guard, or maybe it's the right of the United States military, or the right of the Army Reserve, but not the people. So there had to be some attachment to regulated military, as we know regulations today. The fourth comma, or the fourth phrase of the Second Amendment reads, shall not be infringed. And that's just self-explanatory. So why is there so much controversy surrounding the Second Amendment? Well, we need to know that self-defense is a natural right. It's a God-given right, which existed long before any kind of form of written government. It's found in the Bible. Exodus chapter 22:2 gives mankind the right to defend their persons, their family, their property, even if it requires inflicting death upon a potential intruder or someone that's going to steal from their property. In early colonial America, colonial militias required all 18-year-old men to join. They were required to possess munitions, arms, a bayonet. We have several quotes from founding fathers, and I'm sitting here watching my time. I'm going to run out, so I won't be able to refer to many of them, but I'll use George Washington for certain here. So the first president of the United States, George Washington, stated, firearms stand next in importance to the Constitution itself. They are the American people's liberty teeth and keystone under independence. Our founding fathers equated slavery to a lack of individual right to keep and bear arms. So if you take the issue of slavery in America itself, how did the institution last for such a long period of time? We know the answer. Slaves, were without the natural right or the God-given right as slaves to possess the right of self-defense. They had no access to arms. Over the past 60, 70 years or so in this country, there's been a tremendous drop-off in historical knowledge of founding documents and what our founding fathers actually said about the meaning of a well-regulated militia and the right of the people to keep and bear arms, and what does it mean, the security of a free state. All of this has been put to rest in 2008 with the United States Supreme Court decision in Washington, D.C. versus Heller. And an individual right to keep and bear arms has been established. In 2010, McDonald versus the city of Chicago, the Supreme Court ruled that the 14th Amendment is finally it's an incorporated right of privilege that states and cities may no longer deny to individuals. So if we were to use the same logic used by those on the left regarding the Second Amendment and its rights to the people or to the states, I kind of equate the Second Amendment to Gideon versus Wainwright in 1963. We don't have a right in the Constitution to a free attorney, but the courts interpreted that if you're poor, you do have a right to a free attorney, and the state is obligated to appoint one for you. What if we used this same logic with the Second Amendment and by saying that if you're too poor within the state to keep and bear arms, would it be the right, the requirement, the duty of the state to provide such arms to the people if they're too poor to afford one? It's a good question. It was in our assignment. I was shocked to see that question in our assignment, but I was glad it was there. I've really enjoyed this class, and I look forward to watching your videos and hope to see you soon in another class.